dlaczego?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret, and today we are doing a little of a makeup one here because I was on vacation last week, so thank you for understanding, needed a break. And I helped my sister move yesterday, so I'm very tired. And, of course, I recorded an hour and 30 minutes of a podcast about 10 minutes ago. I just finished, and I did not have my microphone turned on. So I'm very pissed. I'm very annoyed. So I'm just going to do a Ferret 64 speed run, the one-stop shop for video game news occurrences and first impressions. Let's go with the Indie World Showcase from the 17th of April. Little Kitty Big City looks like a fun like a platformer where you play as a cat who falls from its favorite sleeping place, and you have to try and get back home in the big city, and there's mini games and humans to annoy. Yars Rising is a Metroidvania, 2D Metroidvania. Looks a little bit slow for my taste, but the aesthetics are on point. Refined Self, the personality test game, is you play as like an AI android, and you choose to talk with different people or do different things, and that determines the outcome of your personality through various variables. It has like a old Game Boy aesthetic, which is cool. So you can have personalities like Traveler, Butler, Merchant, Gambler, etc. So lots of replay value there. That'll be coming out sometime. Sticky Business was shadow dropped on the same day, where you create stickers for your customers. There's also a DLC that's available as well on the same day. Anton Blast has a demo available right now. It's the kind of Pizza Tower-esque or Wario Land-esque game where you play as Anton, who is blasting through various levels. You have to go back through the level in a time crunch on the way back, which is kind of the original. Well, not the original, but it's like a Wario Land staple, and also Pizza Tower did it as well. Valley Peaks is a pretty cool-looking game where you play as a frog in first person. You can use your hands and your tongue as for climbing, and you need to climb up mountains to turn on radio towers. It's got a very nice aesthetic, kind of reminds me of a short hike in a way, but there you go. Looks kind of cool. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. This is a Saw game, essentially, where you are, or maybe like an escape room kind of game, where you're trying to solve a puzzle in each room and move on to the next one. It looks pretty cool. It's got a pretty nice, like, black and white aesthetic to it. Looks pretty good. Europa. This is a game where you play as an android trying to find the last human on Europa, the planet. The moon of Jupiter. It's a third-person platformer. You have like a little jetpack on your back. You can use gusts of winds to fly around. Kind of cool looking, I suppose. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate is a roguelike in the style of maybe like a Hades, where you can team up with other people, like 4 other people, to play as each turtle and beat up the Shredder's goons. They're gooning all over the place, folks, and the turtles need to stop their vicious gooning. Cat Quest 3, which was also shown off at the Triple I Interactive, that's coming August 8th. It's the third game in the Cat Quest saga, where it's kind of like a colorful like map that you play the game on. You beat up various enemies and earn loot and level up. But this time it's a pirate aesthetic, and there is pirate ships to use to venture around the game world. Kind of changes things up. You can also play with local co-op as well. Stitch is a game that released the same day as the Indie Direct. Essentially, you are a embroidery specialist, a quilter or whatever, and you need to use the right colors in the right areas, and it's, it looks fine. It's not something that I'm going to jump out of my seat for. Bzzzt. Yep, that's right. Bzzzt. Bzzzt. This is a 2D platformer kind of game where you go through various pixel art inspired levels, and you're like a little robot guy fighting the other robot guys. There's some bullet hell sections as well. It looks very fun, looks very cool. I would like to try that out. Coming in summer. Skim. This is the game that I've been excited about for quite a while, where you play as this little like entity who can only go, or who can only traverse the world through shadows, which I would say is a pretty interesting concept there. You find you find like collectibles and stuff like that, along with going through the levels. That'll be available on July 18th. Animal Well, Video Game Donkey announced in a video a while ago what day the game was coming out, but now it's officially announced in an Indie Direct for May 9th. Animal Well is a CRT filter kind of style platformer / adventure game where you use the environment and the animals in the environment to help you get around the world. Looks very good. Duck Detective, The Secret Salami. This is a very interesting artwork style for a detective game. It kind of reminds me of like Paper Mario with the character designs, but it's very minimalistic. The characters don't really move at all, but that also can add to the comedy as well. And what you got to do is investigate and do your thing to solve the case. It looks very cool. I really like the idea of that. That's coming May 23rd. Another Crab's Treasure. We already know that's coming out, but it's coming out soon, April 25th. And it is on Xbox Game Pass if you do want to play it there, but it's also coming to Switch and other platforms as well. It seems to be a very fun game. And then finally, at the end of the show, my favorite announcement was SteamWorld Heist 2. SteamWorld Heist 2. This is coming from, of course, the SteamWorld creators who sold one of the best-selling Switch games of all time, SteamWorld Dig 2, on the Switch. And SteamWorld Heist is the game where it's a turn-based game where you shoot weapons and the bullets can like bounce off of walls and stuff. It's turn-based as well, which is very unique. SteamWorld Heist 2 is building upon that by also giving you an open world to explore on your pirate ship. So instead of it being a spaceship, it's a pirate ship now that you're in, and you can go across the world and meet people, and you can also add members to your crew and stuff like that. So if you want to check that out, I think that'll be very enjoyable on the 8th of August. That's coming out, and I'm very excited about that. Even though it's not the biggest announcement ever, I've loved the SteamWorld games for quite some time. Honestly, SteamWorld Heist 1 was my least favorite out of all of them, but this looks like it's building off the idea of that game and giving it more meat and bones. Also, Steam Powered Giraffe, one of those bands I enjoy, is doing the soundtrack for the game again. I'm sure it'll include some hits from them and then maybe some new stuff. I guess we'll have to wait and see. The Triple I Initiative live stream was a few weeks ago. There was a couple announcements that I thought were big enough to talk about here. So Slay the Spire 2, that's coming out in early access in 2025. Risk of Rain 2 got an update that added 2 new gameplay artifacts, and also you can play as the Dead Cells guy. Kill Knight is an arcadey isometric shooter where it's like a top-down, almost Hades-ish, but with the like industrial metal vibe from whatever. Dino Lores, this is like an RTS game where you build your castle and build your walls, and you have to defend against the enemies who attack you, and they have dinosaurs. That's the main twist. This is medieval times with dinosaurs, kind of cool. Gestalt, Steam and Cinder has a demo available now. It's a Metroidvania with a red-haired protagonist. So Callus weeps because she does not have blue hair. But it kind of reminded me of Ori at times, but of course it's like a steampunk aesthetic. If you want to check that out. Vampire Survivors is teaming up with Contra to bring you gunplay for Vampire Survivors, which is pretty crazy. Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn is a new Souls-like action RPG coming from the same people who made Ashen. It's got a very interesting soundtrack, I suppose, and it's also got some nice character designs in there. We'll see how the game fully plays when they actually release a trailer with more gameplay than just a few seconds. Never Alone 2 was revealed. This is a sequel to Never Alone 1, which was a nice kind of game, kind of an interesting game. Didn't have a lot going on gameplay-wise, but the story was pretty good and the visuals were fantastic, so we'll see how Never Alone 2 does. Cataclysmo is an RTS game, but it's also a tower defense game where you build up your towers and your castle and you defend against waves of enemies. This is coming from the same people who did Moonlighter, and kind of like Dino Lords, you play with you play as your captain and you command your troops and build stuff as you go. Dyson Sphere Program. This is like a crazy planetary annihilation type game where you command millions of troops and you just kind of or maybe you fight millions of troops. That's going to be released later this year. Ba, 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 ba. Undermine 2 is a roguelike game in the style of Binding of Isaac, but you're underground in a mine. You can team up with another person to fight through the waves of enemies or different rooms that you will explore. What the Car has a demo available now. This is a sequel to What the Golf and What the Bat. Callus was kind enough to gift me What the Golf, so I'll be playing that soon, hopefully before this comes out, if I have time. What the Car, it's kind of like What the Golf, where it's very crazy and wacky, and there's the levels all have like a different thing going on, except you're a car now instead of a golf ball. Darkest Dungeon 2 is getting a new mode called Kingdoms, which kind of makes it more like the original Darkest Dungeon. Fans rejoice. Let's see what else is here. Cat Quest 3, I already talked about that. Hyper Light Breaker, from the same people who did Hyper Light Drifter, is coming out. This is a has co-op available for it. It's like a third-person hack and slash, but it's adding co-op to it. Laysara Summit Kingdom is a pretty cool city management game where you build cities on the tops and edges of mountains, and I think the visual design is very good here because it's just all a bunch of mountainous vistas for you to look at, which is pretty cool. Wizards of Legends 2 has like a comic-ish art style, comic booky kind of art style. You can play with up to 4 people to fight waves of enemies in like a roguelite mode. Brotato is getting a DLC called Abysmal Terrors, which is seemingly putting you underwater with new guns and new enemies. Also, there's a Couch co-op update. Couch co-op update coming soon. Let's see what else here. Old World is getting a DLC. This is kind of like the Civilization 5 or 6 style game, but there's a, kind of like how Civilization's changed up his game with each update. This one is also doing that as well with this DLC, focusing on new events and court politics. Mouse got a gameplay trailer featuring the new spiked gameplay, where you eat a can of spinach and it makes you punch really powerful and do one-shot kills. Pretty cool. And then finally, at the end of it all, was the Rogue of Prince of Persia, coming from the same people who were working on Dead Cells. Evil Empire. They were given the ability to make a Prince of Persia roguelike game, and it's a side scroller. It has a very beautiful color palette to it. I think it looks better than The Lost Crown, in my opinion. But we will see more about that when it comes closer to release date. But it is getting early access on May 14th, which is kind of annoying in my opinion. Moving on, Harold Halibut. I played that this past week. It's a okay game, kind of average in my opinion. It doesn't really do anything too crazy, but it's kind of got like an interesting premise here and there. It's got some nice world building here and there. The game isn't entertaining enough in my opinion. Like the story and stuff that's going on is good, but it's kind of predictable at the end of it all. There's some really charming moments and charming interactions with the characters. The voice acting's fine, but the character models are a bit stiff. They don't emote enough, in my opinion. The music was good, nice visual design, nice world building. It's just fine. I think the game's a bit slow. I think that if you play the game, you're probably gonna get a little bit bored because it's a very slow-moving game. It's a lot of like running back and forth between two places. One of the side quests had me delivering like mail to people, and it kept asking me to go back to Harold's room to collect one single letter and deliver it, and I was kind of getting annoyed with that. But the main story is about a crew of people who left Earth during like the Cold War era because they thought the world was going to end, and they've been trying to search for a new planet to inhabit, and they crash land on this ocean world because of solar flares. And about 18,000 days after the crash landing, they kind of concoct some ideas for how to escape the planet. Some people want to stay, some people want to go. It's kind of the general thing there. Most people want to go, I would say. And then things ensue as after these 18,000 days, they finally meet like an alien creature, and that's like the main twist of the game. And then it goes from there. But it's a bit predictable in my opinion. But it's still like an okay playthrough. I think that playing through it once would be good enough for me, and I did play through it, so I don't think I need to play through it again. But It was charming. It was fine. I gave it like a 3 out of 5. The other game that I've been playing this past week is Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom, which I really had a good time with. It's based off of like the N64 era, also inspired by Sega Dreamcast games, with the art style and stuff like that, blocky art style. It was very good. It's a very unique platformer where you play as this little wind-up car, and you can boost and you can kind of do like a flip, but that's about it. And you got to kind of build off of those basic mechanics to get through the platforming challenges that the game offers. I thought that they utilized the platforming technique very well. It was very well designed. I really enjoyed the level design. Some of it was based off of inspirations from other games, like Bomb Bomb Battlefield is inspiration for the second level, but it's kind of like a cutesy kind of thing. Um, it's very good. I really recommend it to everyone. It doesn't have anything really wrong with it. It's just a very fun time. It's very fast paced. It's a very quick playthrough. Well, I guess it's not a very quick playthrough, but it's a pretty quick playthrough. And if you want to do the 100%, that's where the real challenge comes in, where you got to do these like really interesting platforming challenges with this little car. Sometimes you enter into a world and you're not wound up, so you need to have people wind you up and add time to your timer, which is a very nice mechanic. Makes things even more chaotic. The game doesn't overstay its welcome though. Each level has a perfect number of collectibles, and then you kind of move on. And like each level kind of has its own vibe and its own details and stuff like that. You have some power ups that you can get as well, like an invincibility thing and a propeller on the top of your car to help you float up. And it all kind of just culminates into a really nice boss battle that kind of puts everything to work. The graphics are fun. The story is fun. The level design's great. There's some secret levels to find that are really cool too. I just love the aesthetics and everything. All of it together kind of came together to be a really great experience. So it's the first 5 out of 5 that I'm awarding this year, and I wish that I had not messed up with the podcast earlier, because I had a very lovely statement for the game that I forget now. So there you go. All right, let's talk about some news. The Xbox 360 store and the marketplace is closing down or being retired on the 29th of July. You'll still be able to play any games that you bought beforehand or any DLCs you bought. You'll still be able to download updates for games, watch movies and TV content as well that you purchased, but you will not be able to buy games after the 29th of July. You will still be able to play multiplayer as long as the publisher who put out the game allows the multiplayer to be played. You can re-download all content. You just can't buy any content. And games that you share will no longer be able to purchase either. Any game that you got with Xbox Game with Gold will still be available as well, so you don't need to worry about that. So pretty much it's as long as something was already purchased or something was already available or is still available, you'll still be able to do what you want with it. The only difference is that you won't be able to buy stuff. I did not see as much discourse around this as the PS3 shop being closed down, along with the PS Vita. So I think that they are actually going to go through with this. So if you want to get some stuff, make sure you do that before July 29th this year. Take-Two, who just bought Gearbox, is laying off about 5% of its workforce and canceling several games. This is going to affect around 11,500 employees, with 600 of those employees being full-time workers who now have to find a new job to support their family or themselves. Take-Two declined to say what the projects that were canceled were, but it's probably some smaller stuff that they were working on in between the bigger projects, which doesn't make sense to me because the smaller projects are made to help support those bigger projects, kind of like how Rockstar used to do it in the past with, the Max Payne series being alongside Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that. They don't do that anymore though, because I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but apparently they don't want to do that anymore. I don't know. They want the big paycheck, not the small paychecks that lead to the big paycheck. It's kind of stupid. So now these employees join the group of like 5,000 people who've been laid off this year already, and it's just kind of getting ridiculous. Not to mention that the CEO of the company just gave himself a pay raise last month. So this is probably to offset the new salary for their CEO. They are saving about $165 million annually, they said. But let's be honest here. I don't think that they're struggling in the slightest, so they don't really need to do any of this. Also, with Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out next year, It's slated to be one of the best-selling games of all time, to surpass Grand Theft Auto 5, to surpass Minecraft, um, and they're estimating to get like something like $5 billion sales from this game, and that's not that. You can also tag on like any added on bonuses in there, like DLC or like the shark cards from Grand Theft Auto 5. Like you get, like all that stuff is going to add up, and I just don't see why they need to lay off all these employees. I don't think they're struggling at all. They have the Borderlands series with Gearbox, they have Grand Theft Auto, they have all these different studios, but apparently they don't want to deal with it. So they're laying off a bunch of employees, and on the surface level, 5% doesn't seem too bad, but it's like but it's 11,000 people. It's almost 12,000 people. Like that's a lot of people. Like put that many people in a room and see how small of a number that is now. Also in like this weird vein of things, the Xbox and Blizzard CEO named Mike Ybarra suggested that we should start tipping developers. And I am very much against this, because tipping developers means that they'll probably be making less money in general, because the studio who funds the games, whether it be the publisher or themselves, will not allot the same amount of money that they need as they used to, because the tips will make up for the profit there. In the United States of America, and maybe other places, I'm not sure, the restaurant area, people who serve you food get paid a much less minimum wage because they make tips, and it's not the best system ever, let's be honest. And relying on people to tip properly does not always go well, and especially in the video game world where you're already buying a $70 game release, who's going to really want to spend even more money just to tip the people who made the game at the end of it all? What if you don't enjoy the game? What if you play a game like Skull and Bones or Justice Kill the Justice League or something like that, and people don't want to tip the developer, or they don't feel like they deserve to be tipped because they didn't like the game? Well, then now, instead of being paid the full amount of money and just kind of getting a bad game out there, now you don't get paid the full amount of money, and you have to rely on the $0 tips that you're making. It's just one of those things that, like, I'm sure this is coming from a place of like something positive, like, we should tip our developers, but that the AAA market, especially now with how much they are penny pinching, that they are going to reduce the salaries or reduce the funds for a development studio because they go, the tips will make up for it in the long run. No, they won't. And yeah, sure, if you want to tip an indie developer, I think that would be great, but they should just open up a Patreon at that point. And in terms of a AAA developer getting tips, like, just have the publisher pay them the correct amount of money. Just pay the developer more so that we don't have to feel the need to tip people. That's it. So, like I said, it seems to be coming from a place of maybe some positive energy, but I think in the end it would be a negative, a net negative for the gaming landscape as a total. The Fallout TV series has been renewed for Season 2, of course, after its resounding success. It is one of the most popular shows that's been released on Amazon Prime since The Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power, and I'm sure it'll go past that as well. So far, I'm really enjoying the show. I haven't finished it yet, so I'm not going to talk about it fully, but it's been a very, very good time. Season 2 has been officially has been officially approved. The second batch of episodes have been handed $25 million of Californian tax credits, so it's definitely going to be made now. Because of the popularity of the TV show, Fallout 4 has been the number one selling game in Europe for the week here, with a 7,500% increase in sales. Across the globe, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Fallout 3, and Fallout New Vegas have charted in the top 10 best-selling games across Europe and America. They've also seen great boosts in numbers as well for player bases. Next week, the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S version of Fallout 4 will get a new graphical mode, including 60 FPS and 4K mode, along with Creation Club content updates. On PC, you'll be able to play an ultra widescreen mode as well as a few other improvements as well. So it seems to be doing very well, and the first season has been good so far. I can't wait to finish it up. Todd Howard says he's very elated with what the Fallout TV series has done. He also has said that the timeline adds up. He says that everything that happened in the past games has happened now. There's been a bit of discourse around the timeline of the games since the Fallout TV show has come out and the events of the Fallout TV show, which I don't really know about, so I'm not going to talk about. But Todd Howard said that everything that happened before has officially happened. There's been no changes to the timeline. They're trying to work around or thread the needle with this kind of stuff. So have faith, I guess. I don't know. On the other side of things, Ubisoft has been under a bit of fire because the Jabba the Hutt missions seemingly were locked behind a season pass. But the publisher for the game, Ubisoft, has come out in a statement from a spokesperson who said that the Jabba the Hutt and the Hutt Cartel missions are one of the main syndicates in Star Wars Outlaws, and they will be a main part of the experience for the base game. If you want more missions for them, you can get the season pass. There will be an extra Jabba's Gambit mission, which takes place after the main events of the game, where Nix needs to pay the cartel big money. He owes them a debt, so they've come after him. This is better, but not like amazing. Seeing as like $130 for the season pass version of the game is pretty outrageous nowadays. And a lot of people are getting used to the free content updates, but not from Ubisoft, I suppose. Hopefully the season pass is worth it for people who want to buy the season pass for about $40. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what to really say now because like if the Jabba the Hutt missions were stuck behind a season pass, that would be pretty scummy, obviously, and that very deceptive marketing tactic. Since the Jabba the Hutt missions are in the main game, except for one that is in the season pass, I guess it's not as bad. I don't think that anything like this is going to make me not buy the game. I'm too big of a fan of Star Wars to not buy it, but that being said, it is one of those crappy things. It's like you take this big IP and then you start to monetize it. Well, yeah, now you're taking away missions and putting them into a season pass behind a paywall, possibly on day one. Yeah, not really that great. 2016's Ratchet & Clank reboot has gotten an update, a free update in over 8 years, and that is for the 8th anniversary of the game. They're adding the bouncer back into the game. This was a weapon that was in the original game, but not in the reboot. So now you can replay the game with the bouncer. It's a free download. There's also been a free update for the game that'll give it 60 FPS on the PlayStation 5, which is pretty cool. So when I go back and replay the game in the future for my Twitch streaming, I will definitely be playing it on the PS5 to see how that works. Going along with some more Sackboy: A Big Adventure news. I'm sorry, Sony news. Sackboy's Adventure, Little Big Planet 3, the adventure before Sackboy: A Big Adventure. The servers were shut down due to security risks or a hack or something like that, and they have announced that they are not actually going to be booting them back up. They are closing the online features of the game permanently. In a press release on Twitter, they said, due to an ongoing technical issue which resulted in the Little Big Planet 3 servers on PS4 being taken offline temporarily in January 2024, the decision has been made to keep the servers offline indefinitely. All online services, including access to other players' creations for Little Big Planet 3, are no longer available. User-generated content stored locally on your PS4 will remain playable, but any user-generated content you create can be played on your PS4 but not shared. Offline features such as the campaign will remain playable. So this is kind of unfortunate because there's not another Little Big Planet game to play that has the same stuff as Little Big Planet 3 or the creation tools and stuff like that. If there was a Little Big Planet 4, then I would be like, okay, yeah, shutting down the Little Big Planet 3 server is not that big of a deal unless you're a trophy hunter or you really love that game, right? But because it's the last Little Big Planet game that's come out since Sackboy: Big Adventure, and there doesn't seem to be plans to bring another Little Big Planet 3 Planet game into the PlayStation era right now, it's kind of unfortunate that they're shutting them down indefinitely without the ability to have a game like it be available to download other people's content and do the same things as Little Big Planet 3. So very unfortunate for people who were maybe waiting for the game to come back online, whether it be for trophies or just to keep creating and doing stuff in the game. It's very unfortunate, and I do wish that they had brought the servers back online just so people could play them again and then be like, okay, but the servers are only going to be available for another month or another year or something like that. I don't know. It's very, very unfortunate. So, sorry, folks. All right, let's talk about some games coming soon. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was revealed, and it will be coming out later this year in 2024. This is the sequel to the kind of split game, Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, which saw you play as a absolute dumbass who needed to learn everything from like sword fighting to horseback riding to archery to whatever, lock picking and stuff like that. So it was a real it was a real simulation game where you started off as some dumbass and you had to become educated. And it's a very interesting concept, but not a lot of people were like, I guess it was kind of split on people like enjoying it and also being incredibly bored and hating it, right? And I think the main thing was the combat in the game was very unintuitive, especially early on when you don't really know what you're doing. So they definitely, I think they definitely need to fix those kind of things that make the game a bit more accessible to a wider audience. And maybe they do that in Deliverance 2, because you don't have to. I mean, if you're playing as the same character, then you don't have to relearn all those things unless you get head trauma or something like that. But this is a sequel to the 2018 game set to release later this year. It's bigger, better, and more ambitious than the original game. It took 250 employees to create. So this is a passion project by the studio. They wanted to maybe rectify some things that were in the original game, or maybe just improve upon that original game, because the concept itself is really interesting. And it's, I tried to play it when it first came out, and I was a bit split on it as well, and I never finished it because it's just such a big game, and it just takes so long to get anything going. But there are people who stand behind that first game, and hopefully the second game delivers for them and for the masses. Zombie Army VR will be available later this year. This is I guess a sequel to the Zombie Army 4 game. If you don't know what the Zombie Army games are, there was originally a trilogy of games called Zombie Army Trilogy, and then there was a fourth game that came out, which I was kind of mixed on. It was kind of fun, but also removed some things that I enjoyed about the Zombie Army games. But essentially, it's an alternate timeline where Adolf Hitler uses some sort of magic to resurrect his army as zombies, and you got to defend against the zombies and stuff like that. The VR game seems to be more of that, where you are just shooting zombies and you're trying to get your multiplier up and stuff like that. Essentially, you're going to be going through the campaign, trying to find the characters from the past Zombie Army games, and then fight the free Europe from the zombie apocalypse, starting in Nuremberg to help Captain Herman Wolf. So you'll be using assault rifles, sniper rifles, pistols, and of course, and some machine guns in your arsenal. You'll be able to dual wield submachine gun and pistol at the same time if you so desire. They brought back the staples for the game, like the M1 Garand, I think the Springfield I saw. Yeah, there you go. Looks like it's going to be kind of fun. And like I said, that's going to be coming later this year in 2024. Definitely going to be a pickup for me, especially because it's on the PSVR 2, and I got to do something with that thing. Capes. The release date for the game Capes has been revealed. This is the Marvel Midnight Sun kind of game where you play as random heroes who need to fight the bad guys. And it's turn-based, and you have a bunch of different characters to use. I believe they're like randomly generated too, kind of like the XCOM games and stuff like that. So kind of like Rayman, not Raven Rabbids, Kingdom Battle. The Rabbids Kingdom Battle games and stuff like that. It's got like that kind of style where you move around your characters in the space that you can, and then you attack enemies. And you can do like combo attacks and stuff like that. So this will be available on the 29th of May if you're interested in that, if you need to scratch that Marvel Midnight Suns itch. World of Goo has been delayed on the Switch until August, so instead of being released in May, it's going to be released on August 2nd. The developer said that they were pumping too much goo into World of Goo 2, and they need to move back the game a little bit to work on it a little bit more. So I'm sure people will be happy to wait another month for the game. Me personally, I'm very excited to play this, and I'm sure that the release is going to be fun. Anyone who's hating on World of Goo 2 just have not played the first game. Braid Anniversary Edition. I feel like we've been talking about this game for quite some time. The new version of the game has been pushed back a little bit to the 15th of May, so it's about a 2-week delay because they added in 40 additional levels. 14 of the levels were from the mobile version of the game, with another 14 of the levels being indexed levels. I don't know what that means. There's been 15 plus hours of developer commentary added to the game, along with 12 alternate design levels with commentary, along with 13 all new puzzle games with 16 puzzle pieces to collect to make a new picture. So it's been a long time coming, but this Braid Anniversary Edition seems to be finally wrapping up, and it's got some extra content in there, which is really nice. Here are 14 games coming to PlayStation Plus Extra Tier and Premium Tiers. The Extra Tier is getting Dave the Diver, Oddballers, Construction Simulator, The Crew 2, Raji the Ancient Empire, I'm sorry, Raji and Ancient Epic, The Legend of the Lego Ninjago movie, the video game, Noor, Play with Your Food, Deliver Us Mars, Lego Marvel's Avengers, Miasma Chronicles, and Stray Blade. In the premium tier, you're getting Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare for PS1, Star Wars Rebel Assault 2, The Hidden Empire on PS1, and Medieval on PS1 as well, if you want to check those games out. And at the end of April and into May, on May 21st, here's 25 games that are leaving the PlayStation Plus tiers. We have Abzu Adrift, How to Survive 2, The Artful Escape, Ashen, Last Stop, I Am Dead, Absolver Downfall, My Friend Pedro, The Messenger, Jotun, Sundred, World of Final Fantasy, This is the Police 1 and 2, Elex, Monster Jam, Steel Titans 2, Minute, Observation, Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 7 Remastered, Final Fantasy 12, The Zodiac Age, Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition, and Final Fantasy 10 10-2 HD Remaster. I hope I got those Roman numerals correct there. On the Xbox side of things, we got some games coming to Xbox, including the Deep Rock Galactic, Super Hot Mind Control Delete, Wreckfest, Xbox Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass. We're also getting Orcs Must Die 3, that's already available. NHL 24, already available. Yedian Chronicles, 100 Heroes, Another Crab's Treasure, Manor Lords, and Have a Nice Death. All those will be available by the end of April. And then here are 6 games at the end of April that are leaving, including 7 Days to Die, Besiege, EA Sports NHL 22, Loot River, Piku Niku, and Ravenlock. So if you want to play any of those games, you got to play them before the end of the month. Our speedrun is complete, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry that this episode is like this, but it's my own fault, really. In my tired haze, I forgot to fucking unmute my microphone. That's really all that happened. But I appreciate you listening to this episode. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend or a good rest of your day. I am Yemmy the Ferret, and if you want to check me out, I'm on Twitch. I stream on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. We're playing Assassin's Creed Rogue right now, and we'll be switching out for a different game on Tuesday to kind of add some spice in there. I'm not sure what exactly it'll be, but I have a good idea. And if you want to check out anything else I do, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret on YouTube VOD channel, Twitter, etc. I also do a podcast called Film Freaks with a Z. The latest episode is Kung Fu Panda, where we talked with Demonic Lucy about the movie. It was a good time. And those release every 2 weeks. Same thing with Ferret Cafe. Every 2 weeks we do a live podcast recording where I just kind of shoot the shit. If you want to check that out, a Ferret Cafe podcast, available everywhere. I appreciate you all. Have a good rest of your day. I'm the Ferret. I'm out of here. So long. The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.